Hello everyone, my name is Arvind Raghavendran and welcome to my presentation of my dashboard project for the visualization course 2022-2023. So before we begin the walkthrough of our dashboard, let us first get a brief introduction to what data we're going to be working with. The data that I've chosen for this project is the World Happiness Data, which is a measure of a person's perception of happiness in their country, and this data is available for every single country from the year 2015 to 2019. So the data was done through a survey. So people were asked questions such as, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you, how would you rank your happiness in your country, and how would you rank the freedom that is provided to you by the government, etc. And those were tabulated and uploaded to Kaggle, and that is the data that I've used here. So before we go to the Kaggle dataset and look at the data, I'd like to talk about the five main factors that I'm going to be using here. So the four of them are factors, that is the per capita GDP of the country, the measure of satisfaction provided by the family, life expectancy in the country, and as I mentioned, the freedom provided to the individual by the government. And these four factors is what majorly perceives an individual's notion of happiness in their country. So the data, as I've already loaded in Kaggle, is available from 2015 to 2019. And what is more interesting is that not only do we have a nice time series analysis possible, we can also perform a region analysis due to the fact that every country has been put into what major region they belong in the world. So we can even perform a region-wise analysis. Now, there are some columns that I have not included. For example, this column, say trust and how corrupted the government is. And the reason why I'm not incorporated is because that is not available for all the years. It was available in 2015, but as the years went by, the data was not available. And similar, there were some other columns. So I have removed such columns, and the five factors that I had mentioned before are the ones that we are going to be using for our analysis. Okay, and a small disclaimer is that the plots might take some amount of time to render, and so apologies for that. So okay, so let's proceed with our analysis. The first kind of plot that I'm going to be introducing is a map plot, and it's not very interactive. It is just a fundamental level of interaction, that is I can choose what factor that I want to see, and corresponding map plot gets displayed in which each country is shaded based on the scale of the value. So let's just take a look at happiness score. It is obvious that the North American countries and the Scandinavian countries are very happy, and this is something that is very well known, and even Australia is very happy. And on the other side, the Indian subcontinent and African countries are not very happy, and that is also a fact. And we can change this factor to something else. For example, if I want to look at the economy per GDP capita, it'll render, and again, so the wealthier countries per capita are North America, Russia, and again the Scandinavian countries, and the poorer countries are the African countries. So this is a simple map plot that displays the value. So, and this I have done only for 2019 because that was the most recent data. This can be extended to provide a choice to choose which year also. But as I had mentioned before, that might be a little hard because some data might not be common, some countries might not be common, so it's very hard to do it. So if we have the full data, that might be possible. Then we look at the regional analysis like I had mentioned before. So there are two ways of comparing. I can choose one region, I can compare two regions based on multiple factors, or I can compare two factors based on multiple regions. The first is region. If I just want to look at one region, I can just set it to be the same region and I should expect yes. So this is the current data that's available in the Australia and New Zealand region. And now if I want to compare this data with another region, for example, North America, then I will see that, yes, so this is the comparison between North America and Australia and New Zealand with respect to different factors, and they seem to be performing pretty close by. But where I can, for example, if I take Southeastern Asia, then there is a very clear gap. North America does considerably much better with respect to Southeastern Asia with respect to all the factors. And similar to this, I can even do a factor versus factor plot. For example, if I just want to see how happiness fares in all the regions, I can just set it to be the same, and I get this is the current standing of happiness in all the regions, and North America and Australia, New Zealand are supposed to be the happiest places to be on. And if I want to compare two factors, for example, happiness and GDP, so for example, then this doesn't say there isn't much comparison from top to bottom, but what we can see is that for one region, is it being the best region with just one factor or multiple factors? So North America is second when it comes to happiness, but it's first when it comes to GDP, and we can perform a cross-factor analysis like this. So, and there is some interactability over here, interactive plot over here. The third kind of plot that I'd want to introduce is a cross-factor analysis. That is, how do different factors affect each other? So before we get into the scatter plots, first we need to get a brief sense about how the factors can relate to each other. So for that, we would need the correlation matrix. And as we can see, the correlation, now we all know that correlation does not imply causation, which means that when I say that GDP per capita and happiness have a correlation of 0.79, it does not tell me what affects what. It just tells me that that something is positively affecting the other thing. And so we might, and also this correlation might not, this causation might not be something that is very intuitive to us. We cannot look and determine what affects the other without additional data, but maybe in some cases it can be very easily determined. For example, if I were to take life expectancy and family. Life expectancy and family is supposed to be positively correlated, and it can be in some sense thought of that if your family and your society gives you more freedom and makes it a happier place, then you are ideally expected to live longer and lead a more happier life. So we can see in that sense where the causation is coming from, but as I said, this is just based off intuition. There's nothing you can determine from there. So now we look at the scatter plot. I can choose what two factors I would like to plot. So for example, let's take the ones that I mentioned, life expectancy and family. So if I plot life expectancy and family, I get a nice positive correlation. And I can just choose to fit the OLS regression line on this just to get a brief sense of how the variables are being correlated, and I can remove the regression line as well. Some reactive variables I have used over here. And that was the cross-country analysis. I can even, yes, so that's it over here. And the final bit is the time series analysis. And this is where you get all the data that you want to get. So here is one single country and how they fare. So I can just choose one country. Let's go to our country, India, and happiness score. India has been doing poorly in happiness, and it's only been decreasing since the years. I'm not sure if it's been decreasing ever since, but based on the data, it seems like to be a good guess to say that India is becoming more and more sad. Then I can choose another country. For example, I can take the US, and US has been considerably happier than India at least. And the country that had ranked happiest in 2019 was Finland. And let's see how Finland fares with respect to India. Finland should be doing considerably well, and it has. And Finland was doing well even since 2017, even till 2017, and since then it has shown a considerable boost in their happiness. And it's not just happiness. I can even check the economy. I can check freedom, and we can see the trends in each country. Then I can do a country versus country plot. I can choose two countries that I want to compare. I've kept US and India over here, and we can see US has been considerably more happy than India. But that's not, I mean, so it's not like India is the worst country. For example, I can choose, say, Somalia. I think Somalia should be, no, it's happier. Sudan, I guess, no. Yes, India is performing better than Sudan. So the point was you can compare two countries, and not just based on happiness. We can probably take multiple factors and see how countries have been performing over the years. And the final bit is top or bottom. So if I don't want to see a specific country, if I just want to see in that year what is the top 5% and the bottom 5%, I can choose the radio button for top or bottom, and I can choose how many countries that I want to see. Beware that the more countries you choose, the more cluttered it will get. So I can just choose 4 countries over here and say I want to check the GDP per capita, and the bottom four countries based on GDP per capita, and I can even check the top four countries on GDP per capita. So that is a top and bottom analysis. And this is a very brief dashboard. This can be extended, and multiple other features can be included, but in the limited time and availability that I tried to piece together a basic understanding of how countries are faring in terms of happiness and how they affect it. Thank you for watching.